Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to you all. In today's experience economy, customer experience is the differentiator when it comes to driving customer loyalty and wallet share. This means the customer should be the focal point of your company's analysis. Unfortunately, that's not the case with most organizations. While investment in analytics has grown over the past several years, most organizations are still stuck in traditional analytical practices. Today, we take this opportunity to look through the lens of renowned industry practitioners and thought leaders and learn how to mature analytic practice with customer journey analytics to uncover new person-centric insights about your customers. Welcome to yet another session of Adobe's Experience Wednesday. Today's session is on Move to Person-Centric Insights with Customer Journey Analytics, brought to you by ET Brand Equity and Adobe. To start off with today's intriguing discussion, first we have a fireside chat. And for that, it is my sincere honor to introduce Mr. Manish Saini, Chief Operating Officer, Ferns and Petals, who shall be quizzed by Mr. Harpreet Pental, Head, Data and Analytics, Adobe India. Thank you both the gentlemen for gracing the session today. With that, over to Mr. Pental.
Thank you, Vaisakhi. In today's experience economy, the customer experience is the key differentiator when it comes to driving loyalty and wallet share. This means the customer should be the focal point of your company's analysis. Unfortunately, that's not the case with most organizations. While investment in analytics has grown over the past several years, most organizations are still stuck in traditional analytical practices. The customer care team, for example, might be worried about the net promoter score, while the marketing team may be more focused on campaign conversions. And the product team is focused on feature usage and daily active users. Unfortunately, this siloed approach to customer analytics often results in organizations forced to make channel-specific decisions, which is outside of the context of the full customer journey. As a result, the customer experience suffers, and so does customer loyalty. So clearly, person-centric insights with customer journey analytics is certainly the way forward. And to hear more on that, we have invited a thought leader from one of our marquee customers to share his views with our esteemed audience. I would like to welcome Mr. Manish Saini from Ferns and Petals. Manish is the Chief Operating Officer at Ferns and Petals. He's a business leader with over 2 decades of experience in strategy and business operations, digital marketing, and in-depth understanding of omni-channel strategy. Manish has been instrumental in driving the complete transformation of the business model from a single category company into a multiple category, multi-country business leveraging the power of digital transformation technologies. Adobe is proud to be a partner with Ferns and Petals in this successful journey. Thanks, Manish, for joining us today. What a wonderful journey. It is sincerely a pleasure to have you. Welcome to Adobe Experience Wednesday.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. Thank you for having me. I cherish the long association we have had with Adobe, and will be very happy to participate and share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Manish. So let's get started. So Manish, in your opinion, post-pandemic, how has the customer interaction with retail organizations evolved? And what are the trends you see at the store locations?
Sure. All right. So right after wave one, Harpreet, of course, like for everybody else, the retail footfall has obviously gone rock bottom. And from the customer touchpoint standpoint, whether it's retail or the mobile or the app or the desktop or the call center for that matter, the behavior has been very, very dynamic in nature, right? Right after wave one, customer have stopped going to retail, but just before wave two, when things just started open up, gradually there was some walk-in that was building up on the retail front. However, right after wave two, what we have also started seeing in last 2 quarters is that customer has adopted the call to the retail store channel, right? So they're searching for the retail store phone number on the Google business listing, and then they start to call. So while they are interacting with the offline channel, but they're still choosing not really to go to the physical store as far as possible, right? Because at the end of the service is getting delivered at the same price, at the same quality, same consistency, and so on and so forth, right? So that's one side of the behavior change when it comes to interacting with the sales channel, the retail side of it. And second is the whole consumer behavior on the category aspect, right? Right after wave one, there was a phenomenal increase in the uh, plant and branded chocolate category, right? From the product standpoint. Now that has taken up, and it has changed to more flour and more cakes, right? So plant, while it was growing phenomenally in Q3 and Q4 last year, I mean, this Q3 and Q4 has been very less for those categories. They have, I mean, there are other categories which have taken up the space for that growth, right? So this is how the consumer behavior has changed, post pandemic, and it's ever evolving. I mean, every 2 weeks or 3 weeks for different companies, different industries, it's behaving very differently. Very interesting insights that most of the companies are seeing, and so are us. So yeah, it's all about how you catch up to that game, and how you really understand what the customer is doing and where it's going, and then you really adopt to your strategy, right? So yeah.
Perfect. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Manish. Completely understand. It's a dynamic world. Customer expectations are changing, products are evolving, and customers are not just stuck to one channel of association with a brand. They can be flipping between physical to digital, and so they are omni-channel present. In fact, the ability to uncover customer insights at an overall brand level and optimize the customer experience is critically important to a brand success. In fact, it separates the leaders from those companies, in fact, falling behind. The industry survey data indicates that companies that are insight driven are 3 times more likely to beat their competitors' key financial and customer metrics. That leads me to the next question. So like you mentioned, that a lot of new and different types of customers, different preferences are coming and interacting across multiple touch points. So journey has definitely changed. In your opinion, what impact does that have on the overall customer journey experience? Your views,
Right.
Manish.
Right, sure. So, I mean, the customer bucket is a, there are different types of customers. Some of the customers who are, who are still having some challenges in the payment, they are adopting the phone channel, that, like I mentioned, to the retail store or the call center also, right? That's another voice channel that we still have. It's sometimes difficult to believe, but then there are a lot of people who just want that assistance over the phone, that, hey, I just want so and so gift, just help me understand from the product discoverability perspective, right?
Mhm.
And what's also happening uh, in the ecosystem is, which is affecting us. It's not really a competition, but we call it non-linear competition in the service industry. What's happening is the quick commerce is enabling, or rather fueling that anxiety or the expectation of the customer as to they want something very quick right after the order is placed. For a grocery, or just like a grocery or a food item, they just expect that, hey, it's 3:05, where is my order, right? So that's driving a lot of query, and a lot of inflow of the calls and the queries at the call center and the post sale service team, right? So that's another type of consumer behavior that's emerging lately, and it's changing every quarter and quarter, right? So that's another thing that's happening, right? And second is that uh, of course, lately the app adoption is also increasing, right? Just the fact that I think this COVID, people have realized the value of relationships.
Right.
People have realized the value of emotions, gratitude, right? So we are seeing that far more adoption and far more increase in the repeat rate that we've ever seen. Okay, there's a phenomenal growth in the retention piece of it, the percentage contribution from the metric of order per customer. That metric has improved significantly in last ever since pandemic has come up, right? Which has shifted a lot of consumers on the app side, right? So that's another thing that has come up. We have also introduced during the COVID some digital gifting category, right? These are services like delivering experiences through digital medium, be it a guitar service, be it any other video messaging from celebrities and all. So that channel has also they have tasted the blood of how convenient and how powerful that gifting is, right? It's very intangible in nature, but I think it's very high on emotional value that gets delivered to the customer, right? These are few or four behaviors that we have emerging, that we've seen emerging in after COVID. So yeah.
Perfect. And thanks, Manish, for sharing these insights. Truly, the customer are being pampered a lot, and there
Absolutely.
are so many unique ways in which customers are being serviced. And I in fact, to acknowledge the fact that I've been, a recipient of one of those digital giftings through Ferns and Petals, and I was thoroughly surprised and excited to see an experience of that sort. Truly a differentiator, and definitely sets up context into a lot more innovation in this regard. And completely agree. A complete view of the journey
Right.
to understand these aspects then certainly helps. And such use cases, in fact, which you have highlighted, in fact, demands retailers and even other industries as well also wanting to have intelligence into the customer journey. Example, one more to add, like click to brick with retailers in the digital world is a very important requirement. And likewise, multi-channel attribution to optimize marketing investments on a quicker time to insights, which is business driven, is also, I believe, the need of the hour. So, which leads me to the next question, Manish. Now,
Sure.
Ferns and Petals, has more than 40,000 products across various categories, and I was, surprised to see that, and it includes, like as you mentioned, cakes, flowers, plants, chocolates, and personalized merchandise. So you cater
Correct.
to millions of customers annually
Right.
across Asia.
Right.
So how are you delivering personalized experience to these customers? And
Right.
how are you leveraging data to
Right.
provide such tailored one size fits one persona experience to your customers? And what are the key initiatives you are taking within the organization to analyze the complex omni-channel customer journey?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So personalization is a very complex and a long story and long puzzle to solve for any organization, right? If I were to just classify that into three large building blocks, first building block is the data itself, right? How rich is your data, and what is the accuracy and speed of the data that you are gathering of your customer across all touch points, and how well are you able to stitch it together to see it in a single view or the fashion that you want to see, right? Which can be used as a fuel for that personalization, right? That personalization could be in any form. It could be a site personalization, it could be the communication personalization, it could be the experience that you deliver at the call center or on site, and so on and so forth, right? The use cases are endless for different businesses, right? So that's the first part. That's the data accuracy, accumulation, and the speed of the data, right? Second part of this personalization is the how efficient are you, how easy is it for the businesses to segment that data, right? Just gathering the data is just one part of it, but how frequently and how quick can you segment the data, how well can you understand the data segmentation, and what's consumers behavior, right? To give you an example of, let's say we have a customer who got acquired from flower as a category, right? However, has a very high potential to take cake also as a category, right? So we do that look-alike modeling of that customer segment, that hey, this guy has a high propensity of buying cake also as a customer, as a category, right? So how quickly can you again revising, accumulate the data, personalize or understand the data, segment that data, that customer segment, and then deliver in real time or just in time that whole personalization piece, right? So businesses have to be that agile when it comes to personalization, because Personalization, time is also essence in personalization, right? It cannot be post-mortem all the time. It got to be real time also, right? So the second part is the whole segmentation piece, right? Third part is the delivery mechanism, right? And that too, considering all the channels, be it push notification, be it SMS, be it email, be it on-site, be it, you can also extend it to your BTL and the offline thing also, right? You can also extend it to your POS or retail system. You can also extend it to your call center and those touch points, right? So for a business to complete that real personalization journey, right? How do you, these are the 3 4 building blocks that I can talk about. And personalization is also not just pre-sales personalization, right? One really has to understand what has been the post-sale experience for that customer, if it's a repeat customer, right? Whether was there any complaint that he has had in the cake category, what was the business able to solve that problem in time to the satisfaction level that the customer expected, right? And then accordingly you tweak your communication. You may want to just maybe start with an apology that, hey, so and so last time we messed up, but then this time we are really ready, and why don't you try something out, right? So acknowledging that also, it gives that confidence and that sense of surety in consumers mind that, oh, okay, they remember and they know what they're talking about, right? So that's where the personalization goes as deep as that, right? Pre and post sale, and then data, segmentation, delivery, right? And then you simply repeat that whole cycle as you move along in this entire journey. You learn a lot in terms of, hey, within this segment this is working, this channel is working, this communication is working, or this is not working, and so on and so forth, right? So that's how I would describe it.
Perfect, Manish. And this is music to my ears and even the audience today, because this basically covers the entire set of elements which makes a brand successful, right? Right from being able to effectively cater or rather collect that data, across channels, across any channel, whether it is digital or even offline channel. Okay, segment them into the lookalikes, right? And then at a personal level engage, at an individual customer level engage, at the from a right context, from the right time, from the preferred channel, makes it so important for customers to have a complete customer journey view. And we are happy to also kind of comment that Adobe is actually a partner to the journey with Ferns and Petals to actually helping you in all these regards.
Absolutely.
So let's then change gears a little bit more, Manish. So Manish, you've been in this ecosystem for long, and I've
Right.
seen and experienced this space very, very closely. In fact, you've witnessed that there are a lot of BI tools in the market which are giving static view of the data. It is a non-dynamic way to identify experience issues or gaps that span multiple channels.
Right.
What would be the impact if you had a single macro view of your customer journeys across mobile, web, and offline systems, including CRM, stored data, etc.?
Right.
And what is it that you could identify the if you could identify the experience gaps 2 or 3 times sooner? What is your view on it?
Right. Certainly. I think this will be an extension of what we have just spoke in the previous,
Right.
question,
Right.
is that, uh, for any business and for us also, we have invested heavily on the data accumulation part in last 2.5 to 3 years. All right. We have created an in-house customer data platform that gives us single view of customers. We accumulate data from the offline system, from the online systems, and from the call center, and we create a single view of the customer. So we understand what has been the footprint of the customer even when he was visiting the website, and whether this customer had interacted with any of the call center for what kind of query. Was it a pre-sale query, post-sale query, order status, and so on and so forth, right? Then we also understand what is the interest category for this consumer. Is it a customer that always prefers a particular shipping type? Is it a consumer that always prefers always places an order 3 days in advance, or is it always a last minute order kind of customer, right? So we have that information. We collated all multiple sources of the data and combined all of them together into this one big data system that we have created, right? And on top of that, we run these segmentation and personalization and all sorts of communication event that we trigger, right? And I mean, BI tool is just to extract that information and then visualize it the way you want, right? As far as speed is concerned, like I mentioned in the previous answer, that the speed is the essence of personalization. True. Right? True. I mean, in our business, when the occasion is just right there, 70% of our business is within same day or at max tomorrow, right? And if you don't really understand that customer in real time, you're probably missing out on that opportunity, right? What we have seen is that we have seen that after implementing the personalization and understanding the consumer, there has been more than 50% increase in the repeat rate that we were driving in last 2 years, right? So there's a phenomenal growth. I mean, we've been able to drive only because of personalization, right? And speed is certainly the essence of it. Understand the customer in real time, come back with I mean, one can have the repository of the communication as to what communication is working for what kind of segment, right? And the today's technology on both front end and back end is allowing you to do those A/B testing, right? You can have a repository of multiple communication for the same segment, right? And you can figure out, you can really personalize it to the nth level and to the one single customer level, right? And then see what's working and what's not working. And of course, whatever is working, you extrapolate, you scale it up, and what's not working, you go back and fix that, right? So yeah, that's how I would.
Perfect. And I totally agree. You know, while BI tools exist in market, they can give you a hindsight view of the information. But if you want speed of thought analysis, you want ad hoc analysis to be done on the fly, on a real-time basis, as you had, mentioned, you really need a capability which actually gives you a macro view of your customer journey, and be able to, on an ad hoc basis, be able to deep dive, drill down, and perform analysis by even at the business user level, so that you cut down on the iterations of going back to the IT to actually come up or build on a new level of analysis. Even the marketing team, even the business team, even the CX team, the digital team themselves can have ownership on the data and can build analysis on the fly, so that they can derive insights on the fly, so that they have that speed of insight framework and they have that real-time analysis capability. Totally agree with you, Manish, on your views on that. Now, getting a bit more specific, so Fonts and Petals is growing by leaps and bounds. Okay, despite COVID, as you mentioned, the company continues to register 40% annual growth. Right, India's gifting industry itself is anticipated to be a big industry, fueled by demand from middle class with more disposable income, easy access to personalized gifting, and even burgeoning gifting culture. So likewise, Ferns and Petal is also focusing on tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where the floral business is also emerging. Right. So with so much innovation and business dynamics, as a business leader, how are you empowering your team to get a complete view of the customer journey and perform the right attribution to invest in the right channel to achieve the right conversion?
Right. Certainly. So again, I think it's very interesting the way this conversation is going, because one answer is leading to another question, and I'm liking this whole conversation. So the first step is the data itself, the fact that we have invested heavily in the data, and how is this data coming from, right? What are the sources of this data? The sources of this data is the whole web analytics piece, and again, we are partnered over there. So how efficiently are you accumulating that data, and how are you feeding this into your customer data platform? And then you got to have different sources, right? App analytics is very different than web analytics, right? And your in-store analytics is very different, right? The whole footfall and then whole conversion, and that's very different, right? So how One is that we have created this very, very specific use case of accumulating the data at different sources. That's one piece of ammunition that is given to the team in form of data and technology. And then on top of that, there's a heavy investment in terms of data analysis team and data engineering team, right? These are the folks who are really crunching and torturing the data day in and day out, and then figuring out what can be done with that data and where exactly is consumer going. So, right. So the whole analytics piece at all channels, the whole data accumulation point, and then the ability to deliver that communication, and then on top of that, the whole data and resources in terms of data analytics and engineering piece, right? This is how we are enabling all internal team to be more efficient, and we are seeing all the results.
Great. And it's a very important point you made. So I think ease of use, and then democratizing this power of analytics, and if extending it to the business users, definitely helps business to have, kind of more control on the data and be able to easily deep dive and get answers to those unknown questions which are sitting in your data, right? And that offers the next level of experience to your customers.
Right.
So finally, as we understand that organizations need tools, technology, people, and process to get person-centric insights into customer journeys, according to you, which existing or latent technologies, evolving ones, you believe are the right investments organizations now should look at to address the existing and evolving needs, considering the business dynamics and customer expectations? How do you see this evolving?
Right. So certainly, I think the whole personalization, the whole data, the AI and ML side of it is certainly delivering results for the organization. And the good thing is that there's a lot of innovation going on. It's not very expensive to use and adopt that technology, right? There are a lot of both open source as well as enterprise level services which are coming at a very, very cheap, easy to use. You can just log into some of these cloud-based services and then simply start to use those technologies, right? And you can really pick up a very, very small use case, see how it's going for you, how it's working for you. It could be, while it's sort of a rocket science to have, for example, object identification technology or a machine learning based AI technology, you can really use it for a very, very small use case. It could be as simple as product sequencing on your category page, right? It could be the whole product recommendation thing. It could be what others are viewing, kind of small widget that you can power on the on the product page with, right? Or what are the offers that consumer is most likely to have, right? One has to figure out what the use case is. I think there's tons of technology available today's day and age, and it's very, very cheap. It's very, very easy to simply get onto this. So yeah, I think businesses have a lot of ground to play in.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Manish. Definitely AI/ML has a huge role to play, and it's been doing its bits and pieces in certain capacities, but it has evolved to a point where this capability now needs to be available to even the business users, the decision makers at their own disposal, so that they can take quickly insights and decisions on top of it. Gone the days where you have to depend again back to those data scientists and IT modeling team, where you come up with a requirement, they build a model and service it back. By then, the rate at which business is growing, the dynamics, the customer dynamics and expectations, the way it is evolving, you can't depend on a model which comes back and gives you results like after 10 days, 15 days or a month. You need answers then and there itself, when the customer is there at your touch point, where you can actually look at the propensity of that customer to respond, engage with him and extend the offer. And that's the way we see the world evolving, Manish. So Manish, this is such an inspiring discussion. It's instills so much confidence in our audience to think and carve out a path and work in the directions which you've highlighted. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. I personally thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and what a confidence inspiring session for the audience today. Thanks again, Manish.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. I enjoyed the conversation too. I hope this was helpful, and I also look forward for such insights and conversation. Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy. Have a good day.
Thank you, Manish. Really appreciate your time. So with
Thank you.
that, back to you, Baisakhi.
Thank you, Mr. Saini and Mr. Penthal, for putting in your thoughts so beautifully and in a concise manner. It was indeed an informative session, but we are not done yet. For next, we have with us Mr. Rashfordnagar, Senior Solution Consultant, Adobe India, who will take a deep dive into the subject further and set the context with yet another interesting presentation. So without any delay, over to Mr. Bhatnagar.
Hi everyone, this is Rashfordnagar, Senior Solution Consultant at Adobe. And what I'm going to talk about today is how we can move beyond the browsers and beyond the cookies to person-centric metrics with customer journey analytics. Even before I get into that, what I want to talk about is this. What you see here is a lady doing, a great headstand, possibly someone who does yoga and so on. And definitely it's a great picture. And if you see this picture in isolation, you'd possibly, appreciate the picture and the headstand being done in it. But if I just build out this entire picture altogether, it really talks about another lady which is helping her out. And when you get this complete context, your understanding or appreciation about the entire picture is slightly different. And why I have got this here is that is exactly what customer journey analytics does as well. With the entire set and with the entire context around different channels and different sources, our understanding of what is, what really the insight is could be very different. So it's really about, what data is available at our disposal and how we can, make sense out of that. With that context, I'll talk about, what really customer journey analytics entails. And when we talk about different channels, different sources, customer data can exist, in a variety of online sources, not just the website or the mobile app, but it could be your email, it could be your search data, it could be your, lead level data, or it could be your social data. Likewise, from the offline data sources perspective, it could be, your different call centers where you're calling and, getting your queries resolved. It could be the customer relationship data where, as a customer, your data is stored about different attributes about you as a user, or it could be about, the details you give out when you walk into a store or a branch. And all this data is in silos. There are different identifiers around it. Now, as a marketer, as a business practitioner, or as an analyst, if you want to understand or get some insight, answer some questions, this can take, a long time to answer, possibly weeks at times, because typically the process around this is, you ask an analyst or analytics or business intelligence teams about this particular request. And what they will do is they will put that request into a queue. Then they will write some queries, typically using, SQL or some other query language, retrieve that data. Then they create a visualization around it where that insight is possible, and then they provide it to you. But this whole process is cumbersome, tiresome, and it takes a long, long time. And that is exactly where customer journey analytics comes in, which gets you these insight at a click of your button in your hands for you to generate out those insights and action upon them almost in near real time. And that's where, just to give you a perspective, the online and the offline data, whether it's the different online sources or the different offline sources, customer journey analytics consolidates the data across multiple channels and enables a 360-degree view so that you get a full view of your customer. Now, how does customer journey analytics really does that? So we have all those different data sets, we talked about, whether it's an online channel or an offline channel. It stitches up what we call as a person ID, which is a common data set amongst all the different channels out there. And this person ID could be any ID which is defined by you and your organization. It could be, say, a mobile number, if you're collecting mobile number in all these different channels, or it could be an email address, or it could be some customer ID through which you are identifying that customer. And it connects all these person IDs which are collected from different data sources, and then stitches that user profile. And what you can do after that is create different data views out of that. And why does it make so much importance to create those different views? Because a session could be different. By default, web analytics tools used to have a 30-minute session, that if a user is there for 30 minutes, they are identified by one cookie. But if you haven't done anything in 30 minutes, it would just identify you as a new cookie, because they will think that you have gone away, your earlier cookie has expired. So, but basis the organization, basis the kind of product you are selling, basis the sales cycle which has, you could change that session period. It could be a 30-minute, it could be a 2-hour, it could be a 2-day session. And just with a click of a button, you can create that data view from any of the data which is coming in. Or it could be some marketing insight you're looking to get, or because you're also getting, say, call center level data along with their web behavior. So if there are customer queries which are coming in, so the team who's looking at client support, for example, they could make a view out of this, have some good visualization around it, and give a lot of responses to the customer queries which have called in for some particular kind of service. And this really brings me to the question around why does brands use CJ? What are the use cases around it? And while definitely what we'll discuss is not an exhaustive list, all of the different use cases can be categorized into 3 buckets. First one is really knowing the people behind the data that matters, and focusing on the users, not really just on the visit or the visitors. Second is all about the cross-channel attribution, understanding how people move from one channel to the other and engage with you as an organization or a brand, which gives you a much fairer picture and a truer story, very similar to what we saw at the start of that image of a lady doing a headstand. And finally, it's really about exploring the entire journey of the customer, which could lead to a lot of aha moments and can give you a lot of insights you were not expecting around it. I'll talk about each one of them in detail. Firstly, with the third-party cookies going away soon and people moving beyond browsers, it's really about the metrics which are used till now as a norm in analytics, the visits metric, the visitors metric, all of those will go away soon, and it's really focusing on the people. And that's where CJ really comes in, because how it understands different users by getting a person ID, we are able to create a new metric which is called people. So all the events which are happening, all the different sessions where those events are happening across different channels, be it on the website, the call center, the email data, all of them are associated at a person level. So you're able to understand and know, what are the people who are doing, what are they doing about it, and what are they doing in it. That really becomes, significant in that aspect. And what I'll do here is jump onto the actual product. This is how, the customer journey analytics product and the interface looks like. And when we are talking about knowing people behind the data, say you have collected that data from different sources. And this is what I was talking about, people as a metric is something you can come and analyze about. And in this particular visualization, this is a monthly, call out of people who have come in, what sessions they have done, and what number of events they have done. And as you can see, this does not give me confusing, what is visits, what is visitors, unique visitors. It's talking straight that, these many people engaged with me across, engaged with the brand, across different channels in a particular month. And what this really does is helps you create a lot of metrics and KPIs which you want to track. And I understand for a lot of organizations which are online plus offline, they have a retail store or a branch where users walk in, plus they have an online presence. They would want to track in entirety, say what their key KPIs are, key revenues are. And that is where, their revenues, not just across their mobile or the website can come in, because of all the data coming in, you can understand, what was the performance of the call center. Did people call and convert? What was the performance in store if they walked in? What was really happening? And likewise, how was the campaigns performing across different channels, not just on the website or the app? And along with that, there could be multi more different visualizations and reporting comes in. Say for a call center, why are people calling a call center? Is that something that can be optimized? Firstly, you want to analyze what really is happening, and that's where by getting in the call center data, we can get a quick view of where the inquiries are coming from, whether it's a payment, a subscription, a feedback, and so on. So that's really where the first category of use cases around focusing on people comes into play. Second is about the cross-channel attribution, and this is possibly one of the key use cases where customer journey analytics flourish, because we have got all the data from different online and offline sources. What we are able to do is understand how people and users move from one channel to another, and how really they engage with the brand before they make a particular conversion. And what it really helps us do is, plan and attribute the actual conversion to a particular channel, and not just focus on the web. And again, we move beyond the browser in this case. If I come back to the product here, so we talked about knowing people behind the data, but if I talk about cross-channel attribution, it really is about, how different users are engaging and from different channels. So in this tabular table, what you can see are 4 different channels, which is your mobile, your website, your call center, and your in-store walk-ins. And we are able to create multiple attributes around it, that these many people engaged on these many channels. They showed interest in so many particular products across these channels, and eventually lead to these many product enrollments, and ended up having so much revenue. And when they were purchasing a product, there was, say, a campaign where it was a coupon was offered. So how many of them applied a coupon as well? So insights like these would possibly take days, if not weeks, in a normal scenario, because you would be just taking a lot of time to collect data from all of these different sources. But with customer journey analytics, with a few clicks, this data would be there for you to visualize and appreciate. Likewise, you can really, because and how when we stitch this data is based on the person ID and the timestamp along with it. So what we're also able to do is do an overlap of the channels. And if you can see, this is a Venn diagram where it says, the number of people who came from mobile app and engaged there. These are the people who visited the store, and these are the people, who came onto the website. And this is the overlap between them. And you're really able to understand that, people possibly engage with all 3 channels. There are people who engage with the store and the website. There are people who engage with the store and the app. And there are people who engage just on one channel as well. So a lot of great insights can come in. And when you create filters, as we call it in CJ, which is a new nomenclature for segments, you are able to unearth new insights all around. Finally, coming back onto the third category of use cases is really about exploring the entire data and the journey, which leads to a big aha moment. And this is where I would say, analytics involves both art and science. Getting all the data is the science around it. But what customer journey analytics gives you is like a paintbrush, where you can paint your art and find those art trails and let the data guide you. Taking cue from one of the best-selling books, which was The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life, there was a statement which said, I don't know where I'm going, but I know exactly how to get there. That's a powerful statement, because it really helps and tells you that, how you could be more data driven, and how you could let data guide you. And when you're on that path, unearth those insights which are there and apply them across your business. And just to give you an example of it, again, in our product itself, I have what we have as a visualization flow report. Now, what it does is, you can visualize the journey flow of a customer across any metric. And here in this case, I have a campaign, a campaign report where a campaign was planned across different channels, across email, across Facebook as a channel, across Google or paid search as a channel, across website, mobile, and so on. And what was the particular name of that campaign, where the campaign channel, where the users interacted, and eventually what was the product they went ahead and purchased. And now if you look at that and this flow report, it's giving me a lot of aha and insight moments. Just to give you an example, look at this. There are almost a good set of people who are seeing my particular campaign ad on Facebook, then they are visiting the store, then they are coming back on the website and then purchasing a product. Now that's a great insight, which really gives me an indication that, where as a marketer I need to spend my monies, because it may be the case that people are directly not going onto the website from, say, Facebook ads, but they're walking into the store and then going onto the website later on. Now, if I would to do this in a normal analytics platform, I would never get this insight out. But this is a great insight I've got, keeping customer journey report and visualizations across. And that's really what I wanted to summarize this session and talk about, that it's about connecting and standardizing all your online and offline sources, analyzing multi-channel, cross-channel journeys, cross-device journeys to drive a lot of business value and insights. And finally, the time to those insights become way faster and way quicker in terms of actionability. So at the end, I want to pose a question to all the audience hearing this session, that, how do you think customer journey analysis will help you in your in your business, for your organization? And we would love to hear, the use cases you think customer journey analysis can help you with. And we'll be love to brainstorm about those questions. Please feel free to reach out to Adobe, your sales reps, or your solution consultants to figure more about customer journey analysis and how it can help your business. Thank you so much. And with that, I end this session and hand it over back to Baisakhi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatnagar, for that powerful presentation. I'm sure our audiences will be garnering quite some information today from this discussion. Well, with this, we come to the end of today's session. We have indeed learned a lot from today's fireside chat with some major takeaways. I sincerely once again thank all the three gentlemen for giving us their time today. At the same time, thank you all our audiences for staying tuned with us throughout the session today. I'm Baisakhi, your host, signing off.